moving on to the Jags, who went 5-12 last year. Trevor Lawrence got hurt. Doug Pederson is fired. The rest of the staff is wiped out, or most of the staff, I should say. Did not end well for the Pederson regime. I think he's happy about it. I'm sure he is playing 36 holes today. New GM, James Gladstone / Tony Baselli is in there. Just a total regime change with a quarterback that they're invested in, which is always an interesting, how does this work out the next couple of years? Traded up for Travis Hunter, moving up from the 5th pick to the 2nd pick. Took him, receiver. I'm going to go receiver / corner because I think that's exactly how they're considering him now. But I think I'm kind of leading the witness here. What are you focusing on with the Jags offense, Matt, especially with a receiver / corner that broke your charts, basically, it seemed like, during your charting during the prospect era going into this draft?
Yeah, somebody's got to give True Media a heads up about the wide receiver. I had to like include defensive backs when I was looking at the preseason stats to get Travis Hunter on the field.
Oh, with like primary position and stuff.
Yes, primary position. We got to get, and they're not alone there either. So definitely, there's some. He's a unicorn, right? This is an unprecedented situation. So the databases are going to have to figure out what to do with this too. But he's certainly,
I'm sure all the data guys are so pissed off. It's like Y2K. It's like, I don't want to. The code doesn't say this. Why do I have to add this now? Yeah, the scrapers. Is that what we call them?
I think so. I don't know. I don't know the tech term for this stuff. But yeah, I mean, what am I looking at on offense is like everything, bro. I mean, I'm really interested in basically everything about this offense. I'm super fascinated to see how the receivers are used. Obviously, I was charting the stuff in the airport. By the way, shout out to Jake Hora, who sent us an email like 5 seconds after the pod was published. Like literally 5 seconds after the pod was seemingly published, and talking about how much the Charlotte airport stinks. So shout out to Jake for being an instant listener / downloader. Everyone else who's listening, you got to try to beat Jake's time for this episode. So on all the episodes going forward. But yeah, no, receiver usage, obviously, the running back usage, everything like that. But the really thing, the thing to me is how can they make Trevor's life easier? And even just in that little glimpse of preseason. And look, I feel like, Nate, we have, as an NFL community, has jumped the shark on preseason. Yes. And look, I mean, you're tweeting out clips, I'm charting snaps. Like we're a part of the problem here, but I do miss the days when we didn't have to pretend that preseason was this like, all right, we've solved it all. We figured it all out. But but I will say, just even in that first drive, you can just see the little glimpses of, all right, the running back screens, the Travis Hunter screen that was called back, just those like quick little inbreakers to Travis Hunter as well. I think Trevor's going to just have so many more singles and doubles available to hit with guys that can actually do something with the ball in their hands, which is just not. Yes. I like some of the players they had previously, but that was really not the case last year and several years under his run here with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah. And even just the comfort level, you said he had a route to Brenton Strange, who I'll talk about in a sec, but he, on that play, it's a classic in the Shanahan offense. It's slot choice, and the choice route was Travis Hunter, which I was like, oh yeah, we're cooking. So the choice route was Travis Hunter, who wins, but the read on that play is you read the linebacker. So the linebacker pushes to Travis Hunter. Trevor Lawrence does a great job. He steps up the pocket, moves a little bit, and hits Strange on a whip route, which is outwards and then back in. So it times up that's the two. And Trevor looked comfortable. He looked confident. And not only all that, 2 guys won on their routes. Hell yeah. All right. This is a good start. We got guys winning on their routes against man coverage. This is great. So a little optimism. I know preseason, don't want to extrapolate. If you notice, I've been focusing on offensive and defensive line clips because I see enough quarterback or receiver tweets out there that I'm like, all right, let me check out some of these other guys that went in the first round. But I also feel for Liam Coen, by the way, because if Travis Hunter doesn't go for 1,200 yards and 20 touchdowns, everyone's going to call for his head. The fantasy community is going to call for his head. The Jags have
I don't know. There's a lot of cowards in the fantasy community that do not want to take Travis Hunter where he goes. So I think there's enough cowards out there that you probably won't get too much heat.
There's enough cowards. No, you're just hedging. So I think a lot of this is going to be, there's a lot of daytime games. A lot of people using Scott Hansen's analysis on Red Zone Channel. The Jags only have one primetime game this whole year against the Chiefs on Monday night, of course. The Chiefs have more primetime games, 7, than the entire AFC South, 6. Texans have 4, Colts have 1, Jags have 1, Titans have 0. So there's going to be a lot of our discussions. Will probably be a lot of the national attention for this division, especially the Jaguars, though, because it's going to be one of those things people check box scores as opposed to what's unfolding. And I think how it all unfolds is really one of the more interesting subplots to me in this entire NFL, period, is how Travis Hunter is used and just how he looks, because he's so talented, one of the most talented players I've ever watched. And I just want to see it work. I really do. I have, I wouldn't say pessimism, but I have, doubts about how some aspects will work. But the thing is, you don't really get this type of player a lot. So that's why it's hard to, am I going to use this chunk of everybody else with the outlier? We'll see. The O-line has me feeling anxious. Just that's what's kind of holding me back from really getting optimistic about what can go on. But I am excited about this offense. BTJ is a star. I had him as 10th on our receiver ranking show. The running back room's kind of meh. However, I'm not a fan of ETN. I think he gets traded. Tank Bigsby, kind of meh to me. I think the staff thinks he's meh as well. But Bashal Tutin, their 4th round pick, it's his backfield. It's his backfield this season. I think by month 2, he's the starter. He's getting his touches. He's got juice to him. He runs hard. This TD run, the preseason game, was a really good, tough run. Solid vision, runs with a good base. Has a fumble issue. We'll say that. But Tutin, I think he's going to be the guy that takes over the backfield. Yeah, 4th round pick out of Virginia Tech, but he's got some real juice, and they need that in the backfield. But yeah, the receiver room, I really like BTJ and Travis Hunter. I really like Diami Brown. I think he's slotted into he's an outside receiver, but going to be used in the right way in this offense. So there's some nice things going on. I think they need one more offseason. They don't have a 1st round pick next year, but they need one more offseason to get that offensive line juiced up a little bit more. Wyatt Millham is their guy they took on day 2. He looked solid at tackle in the preseason. But yeah, that has me feeling anxious. But I think there's going to be some explosive fireworks with this offense, and how Hunter's used is going to be really, really interesting. A lot of slot I noticed, which probably seems right. I mean, just move him around and get him the ball. Great point about the receiver screens, all that stuff. Defense. Anthony Campanelli is their defensive coordinator. I think I said that right. It's Italian. They came from the Packers. And I know we don't want to extrapolate too much from preseason, but the Jags defense looked rough in the preseason game. Not a lot of good coverage going on. But what are you expecting out of this Jags defense? What are you focusing on?
Yeah, Mason Rudolph tearing him up with his mustache, I believe. Yeah.
I was like, is that Mason? Okay.
He was gonna. Hey, don't worry. The Steelers were gonna start him and win 10 games like they always do. If Aaron Rodgers hadn't decided to, come play for them, don't worry about it. I think for Jacksonville, not a lot of good coverage last year either, Nate. Which is where it is gonna again. We don't want to just keep talking about Travis Hunter, but like how he mixes in here. Obviously, he came in with the defensive backups. This is where I think we jumped the shark on the preseason usage stuff. He could easily come out and start at corner and be like a backup receiver next week because that's how they've been treating it in camp. Like it's kind of gone practice by practice. So I'm not going to be just officially, okay, he's never going to play on defense. But I mean, Jordan Lewis, really good nickelback. Tyson Campbell, good corner. You mix in Hunter here as well. I do think I think the cornerback room could be okay. It could be like a good solid unit. And it's just interesting. Like they have a lot of, I think like good young players that could maybe take a step forward. Trayvon Walker has gotten better each year in the NFL. Josh Hines-Allen is a guy who's still in the prime of his career. He's not an old guy. Like Tyson Campbell, like I said, is a good player. Even a guy like Devin Lloyd, I think, maybe took a step forward last year as well. Could he take another step this year? I just don't really know like what Campanelli is going to bring here as like a defensive architect. And that is sort of just where I'm kind of pausing, and I'm willing to be open-minded. I don't have like a strong take about, okay, this is what this defense is going to be. I'm open-minded from a scheme perspective. And because also, like I said, they have at least 3, maybe 4, depending on your opinion on Devin Lloyd, good solid young players, maybe, and some of them definitely even better than solid young players here. I think that it could be a defense that maybe isn't good this year, but again, just isn't an embarrassment this season, which they were a lot of times last year.
Yeah. Yeah, it was one of my worst takes ever. I was like, Ryan Nielsen did great with the Falcons, and they sucked last year. They were so bad. And then they had a good game against the Dolphins, too. And I was feeling great. And then I realized, there's some other stuff going on with both teams. I do want to say Walker. Walker has turned from, project to overrated because he was a former number 1 pick. And now he's slightly underrated as a player.
Yeah.
I know he's got 10 sacks last year and 10 sacks before that, the year before that, but they're mostly like cleanup sacks, or unblocked sacks. So it wasn't like true winning. But now I'm like, oh no, I think he's firmly a good player. And I almost named him my breakout player, but I didn't because 20 plus sacks over the last 2 years, I feel like that takes you out of it. But no, he's like turned into this really good pocket pusher, and him and Hines Allen have a nice that's the classic what you want. You got the bendy guy and you got the pocket pusher. And I think Walker too, and I think people forget this, he's still young. He's improved a ton. He doesn't turn 25 until December. Jared Verse is a month older than Trayvon Walker. And we're like, Verse is going to take a leap too. It's like, well, why isn't Walker finished? And then I believe this is his contract year as well. Contract year. Oh yeah, we maybe get some out of there. I think they picked up his option, but no, that's always something interesting as well, playing for that extension. So the interior of the defensive line is where I'm kind of like, their linebackers, Lloyd, and then Aluakon. Aluakon's like okay. He got overpaid. He's like an okay starter. Like the spine of their defense, like the D tackles got me a little worried because Eric Armstead doesn't even play. And they're just like expecting him to trot out there. So like that's got me a little worried as well. So like, yeah, I wouldn't say I'm shrugging at this unit, but I'm just kind of like, all right, I'll see. This is what that's how I feel about the Jags. I'm like, I want to check on you guys like after week 6, after I do some reviews and I can like, okay, this is how you guys, that's how I feel about them. Not bad, not great, a little optimistic, but it's like, okay, how are you guys going to shore up these weaknesses you have on both sides? So they also signed Dennis Garnick, who I think is a fun rotational pass rusher, so I do want to give him a shout out as well. The player though, who'd you go with breakout player for the Jags? I actually liked mine.
I went with Trevor Lawrence because I view him as somebody that still needs to break out. I know that you really like Trevor. There's a lot of people that we both respect that still really will go to bat for Trevor heavy. The Jaguars did. He got the damn contract extension, right? But this is a guy that is 24th in the NFL in passer rating since 2022, not even including his Urban Meyer. I still can't believe that's a thing that happened. Yeah. His Urban Meyer ruined rookie season. He 22nd in adjusted yards per attempt. These are not like everybody's favorite nerd stats in the world, but I'm talking about a guy that can go from being 24th in passer rating to maybe somebody that is pushing the top 15 quarterbacks or something like that. Again, I think he is someone that still needs to break out. And I think this offensive environment, what Coen's going to bring to the table, BTJ, who, again, people will tell you, like, hey, look at BTJ's best games. They all came with Mac Jones. Like, Trevor Lawrence is actually bad. So that's where he is from a perception standpoint. Brian Thomas Jr. Playing like true X receiver while getting some slot stuff. That's going to be huge. The Hunter aspect here, just even all these running back screens. I agree, like Bajal Tutin is a great call out. ETN maybe being traded. I think he's a good screen back, which is why they might keep him on the roster. But either way,
good juice.
I think the three guys, if it is a 3-headed monster between ETN, Tutin, and Tank Bigsby, those guys do give you a lot of diversity too, because Bigsby is the best, I think, like gap runner of the group, where Tutin gives you a lot of juice on the outside zone, and maybe ETN's a receiving screen type player. So again, like there's a lot of things coming together here. Yes, I do. You kind of have to ignore some aspects of the offensive line here for this, but getting him to again be just a top 15 quarterback in some of the like stupid metrics that we don't really care about, or maybe are a little overrated in the public eye. I think he could be like a breakout player this year, truly establish himself as somebody that nobody's making jokes about anymore. He's an accepted good starting quarterback.
No one's yelling at me for including them in the top 10. Yeah, they
might still do that. I'm not promising that level of break. They might still do that, but not as much as you did this. They did this year.
I know they would have nothing now, right? Nothing to yell at me about. No, the thing with Trevor too is that like I think why maybe the guys that kind of like really geek out on the quarterback stuff is just that the things that he does well are the stuff that's hard. avoid sacks, pocket movement, yada, yada, yada. And then it's just kind of his first couple of years, he had a whole bunch of red zone turnovers, which was super frustrating. It's like, why are you doing that? You forget how young he is. You're like, okay, he'll work out of that. And then he has to go through Doug Pederson just hating him and just everything else going on with this team. Trent Baalke as a GM and just, everything else was going on with this team. But it's like he avoids sacks. His timing is always just exquisite, and that's why I really like him. It was cool seeing him last year with BTJ pushing the ball, and another instance of example 550 that deep balls are a receiver stat, as opposed to, quarterbacks have some influence on it, but receivers really make that stat open up. It's just, I think some of the athleticism stuff too. I'm just interested to see how it all unfolds this year. I'm optimistic, but maybe I should have waited one more year to include him onto a top 10 ranking. But I've always just been a fan because of the hard stuff he does, but he does have to work on consistency. My guy, who I did not expect to name this, but then I started watching him and focusing on him a little bit more, is Brenton Strange, tight end. I thought Strange man, you got another guy that's just like Evan Ingram. Why would you do that? But now that Evan Ingram's gone, I like his fit a lot better. And he's more of a scrappy blocker than Evan Ingram, who was just a nothing burger as a blocker. He was a glorified receiver. But Strange is a good athlete, good with the ball in his hands. On about the same amount of routes, he had a better EPA per route, same yards per route, and more first downs per route than Ingram did last year. So this isn't just even me projecting like, 1-for-1. He was a second receiver on this team last year, essentially. But Strange is a good tight end. And I think he's going to take a little leap this year. And they got some other tight ends on the roster that I think are going to help insulate him, as far as, okay, these guys are more burly blockers. Quentin Morris. They signed like 3 tight ends. Who was the other guy? Johnny Munt from Minnesota. Hunter Long. Yeah. Those guys can do some of the dirty work stuff. They signed 50 tight ends. I like Strange. Yeah. So I like Strange and Hunter and BTJ. Even Diami Brown, they gave a handoff to. But Diami Brown's got some speed too, more vertical speed. But yeah, there's a lot of speed. That's a lot of team speed. Mm-hmm. Tootin's got speed. Like you just keep mentioning, they got some more juice on this offense, and I think Strange is a part of it. I went from I kept making fun of the Jags. I was like, you drafted Strange over Tucker Kraft, but now I'm like, okay, actually that's not that bad. Like Strange is a good player too. Kraft can block a little bit better, but Strange's got some juice to him, so he's gonna be my breakout player. Thank you for including Trevor Lawrence, so I didn't have to. All right, win over under total here, 7.5 for the Jags. What do you got here, Matt?
Oh my God! Just to tell a quick story here. Part of my travels the last week or however the hell long I was gone, I went up to New York to do like a Yahoo corporate event with this one of me and Jory Epstein, who actually lives in New York, would just show up at this event and just talk to some advertising folks. Hey, we got some great content. Look at these cool podcast hosts. I was mostly like, Jory does real work. I sit in my office and talk. Talk football with these guys, whatever. So a lady comes up to me in like the middle of the event. She just goes, question for you. Are the Jags going to be good this year? And I was like, oh my God, you asked me the most difficult question possible. I was like, well, they're never good. So there's that. Starting point there. They're really never good. I was like, but I actually have a lot of optimism for them this year. So, it's laid out my reasons why. So for that reason, because I am optimistic, I'm going to go over on the 7.5 here. I think they can be, maybe not, they're definitely not going to be a complete team. They might not even be a playoff team, but I think they could be like a legit 8-win team. I think the offense has so much juice and is going to be so difficult to defend. It's really hard to get past just how much of a bind Liam Coen's offense put people in last year. And like you said, I think they're pretty deep in terms of useful players. You even mentioned Parker Washington, who I think is a cool little glue guy in the receiver room too. And I like your Strange optimism. The backfield's interesting. So I think the offense can be dynamic enough to get them to like 8 wins. And if some of those young players that I highlighted on defense can maybe take another step forward, even if I don't really have a strong feeling about that side of the ball, I think this can be an 8-win team this year.
Yeah, they have on both sides, they have enough. It's just that obviously they're far away from being a contender, but like as a wild card playoff team or a 9-win division winner, that's a path. Like even if it's not perfect, and as I broke the roster down more, I'm like, okay, I think the offensive line is crippling. Like in the long run when they face better teams, I think it's fine enough. And I think the one thing I will say with Liam Coen, because he is a McVay guy, those guys aren't fools about how the team is built. and how to kind of make sure that the run game gets going to help everything else out. But again, you got to see it, and so that's why it's kind of, I'm gonna say I'm hedging, but trying to figure it out. I'm going with over. I'm actually pretty confident with the over at 7.5, but I'm not saying 12 wins. I'm saying 8 or 9.
Yeah,
because I just think they have enough juice on offense. They have a fine operator at quarterback that I think like you say, can have an ascending year. And they got enough juice on defense with some guys that can get after the passer. They have a good corner in Tyson Campbell. They have fine linebackers. Like, they have enough fine to like get through this division and steal some wins. Not steal some wins, outright win games, but maybe steal one from the Texans or steal one from a true contending team. So I'm going over, like a slight over here, but I feel fairly confident in that. It's a fun team. Like, it's a fun team to figure out. I should say that. They're one of my, I've always kind of keep an eye on the Jags, but this is a team I'm really like focusing on this year. This is going to be a weekly watch type of team because I'm just curious how it all unfolds. All right. We are going to take our last break, and then we're going to come back with the Tennessee Titans. Wait, who have a quarterback that they selected number 1? I hope we all remember that. I'll see you guys in a sec.